Hope you've had enough coffee so far this morning. I'm Charlie Sykes. Sunday Insight starts right now. Good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, a last-minute budget deal reopens the federal government and avoids a debt default. And what do we get? More debt. And for the moment, no budget cuts or entitlement reforms. But we do get a new budget negotiating committee, and Wisconsin Congressman and Senators Ron Johnson and Tammy Baldwin were both named to it. Paul Ryan is as well. And we get to go through all of this again in a few months. The legislature passes a $100 million property tax relief plan and sends it to Governor Scott Walker, who will sign it today. The Packers win a tough one in Baltimore. Candidates start to line up for Attorney General, including Waukesha County District Attorney Brad Schimmel and Democrat legislator John Richards from Milwaukee. The Obamacare computer system still isn't working, but the individual mandate is still in place, so you face a penalty for not buying insurance that for the moment is impossible to buy. But we start with a controversial real estate deal here in Milwaukee. First, the background. A successful inner-city private school, St. Marcus Lutheran School, wants to buy a vacant nearby school, the former Malcom X Academy, and then reopen it as a school for as many as 900 children. MPS doesn't want to sell them the vacant school because it would cut into the system's market share. And because MPS has been standing in the schoolhouse door, the legislature is moving toward passing legislation to make that sale easier. So last week, this bizarre turn. The MPS board votes to sell Malcom X for $2.1 million to a local developer. But the district would then pay the developer $4.1 million to lease back half the building. In other words, the taxpayers would pay the developers twice the sale price for a building they own free and clear right now. Critics, including legislators, said the deal doesn't meet the smell test, while district officials defended it, saying the developer would invest millions to create condominiums and other amenities. So the question is, does this deal make any sense to you? Joining me on our panel this morning, former state representative and political consultant Michelle Litchens, political strategist Lynn DeBruin, and Milwaukee County Supervisor Deanna Alexander. So, Lynn, as our token liberal this week, you want to defend this?
You know, I wanted to try and defend this, but even when I went onto the MPS website and read the superintendent's comments, which adds in the $4+ million in renovation, even if you agree with that means that MPS pays them back for the entire cost within 6 years. Right. It is an absolute sweetheart deal. If you were even going to consider it, they should have gone out and done an open market and an open bid system.
By the way, that was another element of this, that there was no competitive bidding. This was a single source contractor who gets this sweet deal. Right, and I think that it is probably one of the best sweetheart deals that any entity's had in the real estate market in years in the area. And clearly, if MPS just wanted to block the sale to St. Marcus, they'd have done a lot better by just passing a resolution saying we won't sell it to St. Marcus and be done with it. Okay, Deanna Alexander, how do you explain the deal? Because, you know, I mean, Lynn makes the point that if they don't want to sell it, why don't you just not sell it? Why do you come up with a deal where the taxpayers are on the hook for twice the sale price?
Because they can. This is just a bad deal for taxpayers, and more importantly for school children. They're really the ones that are getting the short end of the stick because they want to learn, they want to have better education. The parents and the community want this, and it's just a lot of bureaucracy that's mucking it up for political reasons. Okay,
now Michelle Litchens, I want to keep coming back to this because when you lay out the numbers, when I first saw the numbers, I went, okay, no, it can't be that bad. I mean, there's no way that you sell it for $2 million and then you lease it back for $4.1 million over the next 4 years, and the taxpayers are on the hook for all of the costs. You know, why would they have done it this way?
Because they do not want to see a successful private school expand. They don't want to see more children leave their system, which is really sad for the kids, like Deanna was saying. But this is par for the course for MPS. They have blocked numerous sales to charter schools and private schools in the city of Milwaukee for the past couple years. What I want to know is, where is Mayor Barrett on this? He's the one who asked the state for the city to take over MPS because he knows how dysfunctional they are. Why is he not acting on this?
Well, I think, what's happening now is, you know, I think good news for everyone involved is that even though MPS kind of did this very quickly, this deal has to be approved by the Milwaukee Common Council and the mayor. And right now, all the paperwork is in the city attorney's office. There's a chance the city attorney might look at this and say there's something in here that's not appropriate. So that fight isn't over. I think the part of this that's so sad is kind of what Deanna brings up. It does cause a real problem for the St. Marcus, I believe that's the name of the Lutheran school. But on the other hand, I don't like what the legislature's doing either. They're going to rush through a bill that takes away local control and could throw some 3,500 MPS kids that are in actually high-performing schools onto the street. So I think both sides are just overreacting at this point, and everyone needs to calm down and figure out how to get St. Marcus at school and MPS still have some opportunity to be in that community.
We're kind of dancing around this because there's no question that MPS does not want any competition. This is not about the kids. They know that St. Marcus School is successful. They know that people want to go to St. Marcus School, and they know that if they sold the building to St. Marcus, that St. Marcus would be able to fill that school with kids who would learn at a very high level, which you would think would be a good thing. What I think is bizarre is how they came up with this deal. And you looked at the offer, the term sheet. If you actually look at what was approved 8-0 by the Milwaukee School Board, the actual document that MPS has online, the term sheet says that MPS will be actually paying $1 million a month over the next 50 months, $50 million. Now, that was a typo. What that tells me is that the level of incompetence is at least as great as the level of arrogance and possibly corruption here, that they couldn't even do their stinky deal without messing it up. And I guess that's what's kind of stunning about it. Did no one on the board go, hey, by the way, the math here is truly awful?
They didn't care, right? Because they only want to make sure that St. Marcus doesn't get that school. Again, to throw out the idea of condominiums in that area, there is no way those are going to fly right now or sell unless they are heavily subsidized.
The worst thing about this deal is that the people who are doing this deal are the people who are supposed to be teaching kids math. What is your glass half full and what is your glass half empty? Let's go around the table. Michelle Litchens.
Well, my glass is half full, well, only kind of, because our government is back functioning again. But my glass is half empty because it's kind of a stay of execution because we're going to be right back in this position again in a couple of months.
Deanna.
My glass is half empty because City of Milwaukee Treasurer Spencer Coggs actually requested a pay raise from $114,000 a year up to $125,000, saying he wasn't hurting for money but wanted the raise. But my glass is half full because the City of Milwaukee Common Council and Mayor Barrett said, no way, not happening.
Okay, Linda Bruin.
Well, mine is the same as Michelle's. My glass is half full because Senate leaders struck a bipartisan deal to get our government open again. And of those leaders, 50% of them are women, even though women only make up 20% of the Senate. I like that in particular. But of course, my glass is half empty because this deal only lasts for 3 months. And come January 15th, we could be right in the middle of this mess once again.
Well, my glass is half full. My glass is half full because the State Assembly passed a bill raising the speed limit to 70 miles an hour in some rural areas of the state. It's half empty because that really wouldn't have helped me because the last time I got a speeding ticket, it was going a little bit faster than that. Next on Sunday Insight, before the election, a local employer warned his employees about how Obamacare might affect their paychecks. Was that a crime? Well, you've heard the expression, justice delayed is justice denied. Well, listen to this story. 1 year ago, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office announced that it would investigate whether a local businessman, Mike White, the CEO of RITE-HITE, had broken the law. Now, his crime, White sent an email to his employees warning that if President Obama was reelected and Obamacare implemented, it might hit the company's bottom line in their paychecks. Free speech experts said, look, there would be no grounds for an investigation because the email was protected free speech under the First Amendment. Now, that was October 2012, a year ago. Then, last week, the Milwaukee DA finally got around to saying that, yeah, the RITE-HITE correspondence to employees dated October 23, 2012, was a form of protected political speech under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Well, in the meantime, White and the company had been twisting in the wind. What took so long, Michelle Litchens?
It's all about fear. And the Democrats do this time and time and time again. Think about the whole freedom from religion. You know, they threaten schools and municipalities on a regular basis that if you mention God, we're going to sue you, right? So they're trying to make us scared so that we do what they want. Do you think that was the motivation here? Because, I mean, obviously, I wrote about this a year ago, and Rick Essenberg from Marquette Law School said, listen, there's nothing to this. This would take about 5 minutes for a lawyer, so it takes 12 months for the Milwaukee County DA? This is common practice. This happens on a daily basis by employers all over the country, for that matter. The only reason that he did not end this sooner is because he wanted to make sure everyone knew that this is a possible threat.
Well, what do you think?
You know, part of me wishes that there was some nefarious thing. The bottom line is, if you've had any brushes with the legal system, their timing is not our timing. My guess is that there wasn't much political after the first month or so with this, and it wasn't a high priority. This is the Milwaukee DA. This is not a major criminal act.
This is the Milwaukee DA that spent 3 years on a political John Doe investigation.
And that should tell you that this one's going to be long too. The bottom line is these district attorneys take forever, and I feel bad for the guy because I'm betting he spent money on attorneys, and I'm not sure his name was sullied because I'm not sure how significant that was, but I don't know if he lost business. So I don't agree that it should have taken 12 months, but I also think it's pretty typical of a district attorney's office on a non-priority item.
Well, also, this is the same district attorney's office that jailed a businessman whose picture was on the front page, later had to exonerate him. They jailed him without any charges whatsoever. This is the district attorney who raided people's homes, and they were never charged with anything. I guess here's the point. There is the chilling effect if you wait a year on something like this. Because how many other businessmen were thinking, if I speak, if I say things, if I get involved in the democratic process, I might open up the newspaper one day and find I'm being investigated for a crime. So in a regime, you don't have to arrest someone. You don't have to censor them. All you have to do is plant the idea in somebody's mind, if I say something, if I get involved in politics, I might be criminally investigated. How does that not chill free speech, Deanna Alexander?
That does chill free speech, but think back to the last time that we voted for district attorney. There's a little word next to each candidate's name that lets us know what party they belong to. District attorney is a partisan office to hold, and I guess we shouldn't be that surprised that it took this long if fear is the modus operandi here.
Well, it's troubling. Now, you may not want to hear it, but we're going to tell you anyway. Let's hand out some unsolicited advice. Michelle Litchens.
Well, this is to my Republican friends, especially the ones in Washington. Please stop disagreeing with each other. Stop fighting over people who disagreed about strategy and tactics. Let's start making the real issues the issues with Obamacare and Benghazi and IRS scandals, so we actually start talking about the real issues.
Linda Bruin.
Well, my advice is for the father who said his 14-year-old was a good girl, even though she repeatedly bullied a 12-year-old girl into committing suicide and then showed absolutely no remorse. Dad, stop defending the indefensible, be a real father, and hold your daughter accountable.
Deanna Alexander.
My advice is for Graham Zielinski, former communications director for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, who has been caught for the 3rd time drinking and driving. Graham, if you can't stop drinking, at least stop driving, or you're going to end up killing somebody.
Well, my unsolicited advice is one of the lessons from the shutdown and the debt crisis for the folks in Washington. Guys, if you're going to take a hostage, you have to be prepared to shoot it. You get it? Otherwise, you have to cave. Next on Sunday Insight, is a new casino in the cards for Wisconsin? It may be Governor Scott Walker's biggest decision of the year. The governor has to decide soon whether to okay a big new casino in Kenosha. Now, supporters tout the huge investment and thousands of jobs. Opponents argue the state already has enough gambling and that it would drain jobs from other areas. Now, by now, you've heard all the arguments, you've seen all the ads. So what should the governor do, and what do you think he will do, Deanna Alexander?
I think the governor so far has shown us that he's walking a very careful path on this, and I don't blame him for that. I think he's trying to balance free market concepts with really just protecting the family unit, which is very important. It's the most essential element of our social structure, but I think he also wants to let the market sort it out in its own way with the laws that we have in place.
Wow, you didn't answer either one of my questions. What should the governor do, and what will he do?
Basing it off of what I've seen him do, I think he's walking a careful path, and he's trying to let the market sort this out so that he doesn't...
What market? There's no market. He either gets to decide yes or no. There's no free market. The governor gets to decide what to do.
That casino's going through.
Oh, you think he is going to approve the Kenosha casino? What do you think, Linda Bruin?
Wow,
okay.
I don't think this is a good one to bet on because he's keeping everything pretty close to the vest. But if I had to, I'd say no, because he just met with the 11 tribes again last week. They all came out of there saying that no progress progress really had been made. Well, the Menominee thought
the Oneida switched their position.
Yeah, well, the Oneida is kind of neutral.
No, they came out in favor of it.
Oh, okay.
They flipped.
I'm sorry.
They
You're
got
right.
whatever they were looking for.
Yeah, well, but you still have the Ho-Chunk and the Potawatomi
Right.
that are opposed. And if Scott Walker keeps to his statement, which they all need to be in agreement, they've got till Tuesday, which is the 60-day or the deadline. And so
what
I
should
think
this is hard today.
No,
So,
what he should do, he should stick to the criteria that he's been touting for the last 6 months, which means he will turn it down.
Okay. All right, Michelle.
I have to agree with that. I think people don't understand that the compact that was put together with all of the tribes and Governor Jim Doyle a number of years ago would be opened up if he allowed this casino to happen. He put that criteria out a few years ago, and I think he has to stand by that. It is so frustrating, though, to continue to hear folks say, especially from the Kenosha area, this is the free market. Well, it is not the free market. If it was the free market, anyone could open up the casino.
But you don't think they're going to keep trying to remove the roadblocks and keep this an issue to try and make it move forward? I mean, even if there was a compact, I understand keeping to an agreement, but I think that there's going to be some more force to try and find a way to move forward over that.
I mean, the pressure on the governor is pretty considerable. He's running for re-election on the issue of jobs. This is jobs. How do you turn down 3,000 new jobs in Kenosha and then run on the jobs issue?
Pleasant Prairie is growing by leaps and bounds. We have businesses moving to southeastern Wisconsin. We've seen it happen already this year. We will have job growth down there. I can see if you live in Kenosha, you want to see a bright, shiny new building in the area, but at the same time, you are going to be taking jobs from other parts of the state, and as soon as they build a new casino down in northern Chicago, we're going to lose that business that they keep, betting on coming to the state of Wisconsin for this casino.
I have a modest proposal, which I mentioned on my radio show the other day. The voters in the state of Wisconsin have not been asked what they think about this since 1993, when we passed a constitutional amendment saying we didn't want any more gambling. I think maybe it's time to ask the public again, what do they want? What do we want to do with gambling? Maybe we want to open it up for a full, real free market. Why shouldn't everybody be able to open up a casino? Is there a point where if this is a good idea for economic development, well, why not half a dozen other? Why not let other people in the private sector who are not Indian tribes open up casinos? Possibly. So I think what the governor should do is say, how did we get here? Is the status quo acceptable or is it dysfunctional? And maybe ask the public what they think. So is what they said this week the same thing as what you heard? Let's go around the table. Michelle Litchens.
Well, we heard Mary Burke say that no one can argue with a tax cut. But what I heard was, I agree with Scott Walker.
Linda Bruin.
Well, the RNC says that they want accountability. Health and Human Services Secretary Nancy Sebelius should be fired for spending $400 million on the lousy Obamacare startup. I totally agree. But I didn't hear the RNC say that the 35 Republican House members who caused the government shutdown and cost our economy $24 billion should also be fired. Since they cost the economy 60 times more than the Obamacare startup, I think they should be fired too.
Deanna Alexander.
The Journal-Sentinel's editorial board said this week that government shutdown happened because the Republicans wanted to fill their campaign war chests. But what I heard them say is that they're really just belly aching that Americans stand behind people who stand up for them in public office.
Well, what they said was Mary Burke said, I'm not going to make any promises running for governor. Mary Burke, of course, being the Madison millionaire, you probably haven't heard that much about. She said, I'm not going to make any promises in this campaign. What I heard was, I am so not ready for prime time. Next on Sunday Inside, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week. But first, here's your morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Michelle Litchens, you're first.
Well, my winner is Wisconsin. Finally, for 3 years in a row, we have leadership in Madison who lowered our taxes. Wisconsinites are so accustomed to being in the top 5 tax states in the country, we almost don't believe it. Now, if Washington could just follow Wisconsin's lead, our country would be in a better place. My loser is Southeastern Wisconsin Senator John Lehman. What were you thinking voting against the property tax cut? You can't seriously be running for re-election in your conservative district and hope to win by voting against less government spending and against lowering taxes. That makes you a loser.
Linda Bruin.
Well, my losers are the 35 House Republicans who shut down the government to try and stop Obamacare. Not only did they fail, but their actions cost our economy $24 billion and lost up to 250,000 American jobs. My winner is U.S. Army Ranger Josh Hargis, who was wounded in Afghanistan. After surgery last last week when fellow soldiers were conducting a simple bedside ceremony to award the unconscious soldier a Purple Heart. He brought them to tears by painfully raising his arm to salute his commander.
Deanna Alexander.
My loser this week is Outpost Natural Foods, who betrayed their base of independent thinkers when they took a formal position to boycott Palermo's Pizza, who, despite being cleared of wrongdoing, cannot catch a break. Thanks to the research of a liberal law professor at Yale, the winner this week is the Tea Party. The researcher admitted being embarrassed and surprised by his findings that those who identify with the Tea Party are actually more scientifically literate and logically reasoned than everyone else.
Well, in Washington, only losers, but I want to focus on some winners tonight. Two of the women on this panel were recognized at Friday's first ever Right Women Awards. The awards, sponsored by RITEWisconsin.com, showcased remarkable women from all over the state. Deanna Alexander was named a Right Woman to Watch, and Michelle Litchens was a member of the awards selection committee. The night's other big winners, well, you can find them out right now on RITEWisconsin.com. Congratulations to all the nominees and all the winners. Thanks for joining us and joining my radio show Monday morning on News Radio 620 WTMJ from 8:30 until noon. Have a great week.